بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Now, similar to the router, what I can do is in most of the today's scenarios, you might be using a router as a DHCP server. There might be limitations. Of course, the limitations are similar to the switch as well. But one of the main challenge you will face is in most of the today's scenarios, you will see L3 switches replaces majority of the routers, or maybe you use L3 switches for inter-VLAN routing because you have a multiple VLANs. You have a VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, VLAN 40, VLAN 50. Like you got some accounts department, marketing department, sales department, HR department, IT department. Like that, you will have plenty of departments, and each and every department needs to have a separate subnet to be used. Okay, like in my case, they'll be using 1.2.3.4.5 networks like that. Okay, now you can do the same thing on the router. If the router is using sub interfaces, you can make a router to do the job of a DHCP. Like the same way you have to do, just create the pool and you can do that. Or if you're mostly today's scenarios, you will see a multi-layer switch is always used, a multi-layer switch. And this multi-layer switch can also do the same job for you. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll try to create one more lab. In this lab, what we'll do is we'll assume as if we have the VLANs and we'll try to assign the subnets for multiple VLANs or the multiple computers here. Okay. So that's typically what we'll try to verify here. Okay. So in our case, we'll try to do that. So let's get started here. So I need to have my topology here to connect. Let's quickly set up the topology here. Now, if we just try to see, this is going to be the topology what I'll be using for verifying the same concept what I just discussed, where you can make an L3 switch can be used to support a DHCP service, because now mostly, as I said, when you have multiple VLANs, alternative to the router, you can make an L3 switch as well, which can be a DHCP server. So like alternative. And mostly here you'll have the SVI interfaces, which will be acting as a gateways. And you will be assigning the IP address to them. And this way we can also have a centralized management for the DHCP service, okay? Especially in the corporate networks, when you have multiple VLANs and the different departments, the L3 switch can be assigned with an IP address and the DHCP pool by creating a separate pool for each and every VLAN. And of course, this is another alternative, better for the large segmented LAN environments. Like I said, when you have multiple segments like VLANs, it will be easier for managing a large network, especially with an L3 switch compared to the routers. Okay, because the most of the L3 switches capable of supporting the routing and the switching capabilities, which makes very much suitable for managing the traffic between the VLANs as well. Like a simple example, you can say like enterprise or university network, a campus network in the universities or colleges or any company networks. Like another reason you might be preferring an L3 switch over the router is like that reduces the network congestion by limiting the broadcast, because you'll be having a separate VLANs, so that will minimize the broadcast at the same time, because you have a very small networks like the VLANs minimizes the broadcast, and of course it also do inter-VLAN routing to allow the traffic between multiple VLANs as well. So that is another reason you can say you'll be using an L3 switch. So when you try to compare an L3 switch or you might be using a dedicated Cisco router, both will offer you the same thing, not much difference. But compared to the L3 switch is specially designed for most of the LAN environments where you have multiple VLANs available. That's more suitable, where you can have a separate pool for each and every VLAN. Okay. And of course, the Cisco routers can also be used. It is also more applicable for small to medium organizations, or it can be used in the WAN connections as well. Okay. And compared to the L3 switches, generally have redundancy options as per the LAN designs. That is one additional benefit we can get. Okay. So when I use an L3 switch, You can use, like, mostly in a campus networks with the multiple VLANs, you will be using an L3 switch. Of course, when you don't have a Cisco router, you can use that. Routers are more applicable on a small size environments. Slightly a bigger environments, you can use an L3 switch. But again, in a very big networks, you will be using a dedicated server, which will be handling all these things. Okay. Now to verify these things, like I have a topology where I will be making this switch will be configured in multiple VLANs. So if I verify, I don't have the VLANs also. So I'm going to do all the configurations from the beginning, and we'll make sure that these devices here will be in the VLAN 10 and these two in the VLAN 20. And then this particular switch is going to act as a DHCP server. Okay, so we'll go back to our topology. This is how it's going to be in terms of configuration. So let's try to see the configuration. Configurations, it's more like a normal configurations we do, the prerequisites, like we'll assign port number 1 and 2 in the VLAN 10. We know these configuration commands, switch port access VLAN 10. And also we'll assign the ports 3 and 4 in the VLAN 20. So I do have the port number 3 and 4 in the VLAN 20 like that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, we need to create the VLANs and assign the ports. And the next thing, we need to assign the SVI interfaces. If you remember, the SVIs are the gateways for the VLANs, just like we have a default gateway. In our case, the SVI interfaces will act as a gateway. So we need to assign the gateway. So these are all basic switching things, which I expect you to know the basic VLAN configurations from the CCNA studies. And the next thing, what we'll be doing is we'll be configuring the DHCP pool. So I'm expecting this particular, I need to create two pools because we have one pool for the VLAN 10. I'll give the name as a VLAN 10, and I'm going to say the IP address should be from 192.168.1.subnet, and the default router or the gateway will be 192.168.1.100. And I can exclude some addresses as per my requirement. I'm going to exclude 1.100. And also I'm excluding 1.1 to 1.10, assuming they are used for some other services. And then I'm going to create another pool for the VLAN 20 users. And this time it's going to be 192.168.2.subnet. And the default gateway will be 192.168.2.100. That's my gateway address. And additionally, if you have DNS and other things, you can also configure. So assuming we also have the DNS server on 172.16.1.1, let's assume that's my DNS server. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the VLAN 10 also, because in the future, these guys will be connecting to the DNS as well for resolution, assuming that I missed out on the VLAN 10. So I just configure. So in my scenario, I don't have a DNS server. Typically, whatever the address of the DNS server, we have to assign that address. And additionally, whatever the addresses you want to exclude, I want to exclude 2.100, 2.1 to 2.10 or 11 or any address. You can just say, let's say 15. I'm excluding till 15 or any range. So now this is more like a similar configuration because this is completely based on the IOS. So if you say show run section DHCP, to verify the configurations, we do have the DHCP pool for the VLAN 10, and also we have the DHCP pool for the VLAN 20. And of course, we configure the gateways. So I'm expecting the clients must be getting the IP address depending upon which VLAN they actually belongs to. So these two computers will be in the VLAN 20. So which means they will connect to the VLAN 20 gateway and expecting the IP address from the VLAN 20. And these two computers will be in the VLAN 10, connecting to the VLAN 10 gateway and expecting the IP address based on the same subnet which they connect. So we'll go back and simply say obtain the IP dynamically. So you should see it's getting the IP 1.11. And likewise, I'm expecting the same thing, the IP from 1.12. And these devices, I'm expecting them on a different subnet because they are in a different VLAN. So I'm expecting them to get the IP from 192.168.2.16. And this device, another device I have for verification, I'm expecting the IP address to 2.17. Okay, so if you go back and verify the pool, the configurations, like I'm going to say show IP DHCP pool. We do have two pools created, one for the VLAN 10 and one for the VLAN 20. And out of total addresses, there has been two addresses which has been leased out, and there has been four addresses which are excluded. And if I say show IP DHCP bindings, I should be able to see the IP addresses which has been allocated and what are the MAC addresses. Okay, now these informations will be useful in the later on if you are implementing some security features like DHCP snooping and other things. Later on, this database can be used. Okay. Now this is more or less similar configuration. So if you want to elaborate the lab, you can just add more and more computers, like add two computers in VLAN 30, VLAN 40, VLAN 50, and you can create a separate pool and just go and assign the IP addresses as you want. Okay. So this is more like the similar configurations what we did, but the only difference is we are trying to change the scenario here a little bit, assuming that because most of the time in the production network, you don't have just one single LAN, you will have multiple VLANs. Okay. Now, one more thing, what I can add on to this based on the previous lab, I can just use this router as a DHCP client. Okay. So as per my topology, the same thing as we did on the routers. So I'm expecting this IP address should be 10.002, and this is going to be 10.001, and it is going to get an IP from the DHCP server, where this is my DHCP server giving the IP address to the client. Now, how to do that? It's the same thing what we did on the other side. So make sure that that interface, port number 20, is already pre-configured with IP address. Now, if you know, there is a switch port command you have to add, because normally these ports are the layer 2 ports, and that ports needs to change to the layer 3 in order to get the IP address. So we don't configure the trunk here, but we just need to use the IP address and whatever the IP you have decided. Like I'm using 10.002 with a /24 IP. And I'm going to create a pool saying that this is for the WAN IP or the WAN router 2 or router 1. And I'm going to say it's going to use the 10.net subnet, and the default router is my own address. And I'm going to exclude my own address 10.002, which means it must be getting a 10.001. And any more addresses you can also exclude and you can verify. So if you see here on the router side, what I have to do, I have to make the interface up. That's the first thing. Interface F0 by 1. Make the interface up, no shutdown command. And what else I'm expecting? So I'm expecting the IP address, but I should give the IP address DHCP first. And you can see when I give the IP address DHCP, it immediately sends out a request and gets the IP address. You can see this console message, and we can verify that by using show IP interface brief. You can see the IP address I'm getting here. And likewise, if I try to verify the reachability, we do have the reachability. So you can assume a scenario where you can see the same thing. Instead of using a dedicated Cisco router, we can also use the switch, which will be assigning the IP address to VLAN 10 from 192.168.1.subnet, and the VLAN 20 for 192.168.2.subnet, also assigning a separate subnet for this. So like that, the number of connections you add, the number of VLANs you add, you can just go ahead and create the pools and get the IP address to the client. So this is something, the same example what we did with the L3 switches here. Now, there is one more thing we can quickly add up. What if you have multiple switches? Like if I take an example here, there might be scenarios where especially all these switches will be of a layer 2, where you have the users connecting in multiple VLANs. Like take an example, you have VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, VLAN 10 and the VLAN 20 like this. And you will have the links connecting between the switches. And obviously this link has to be trunk links. Okay, so you need to make sure that the links connecting between the switches should be a trunk. In order to reach out the DHCP server, assume there is an L3 switch somewhere here, or it can be a router. If it is an L3 switch, then this link also should be a trunk link. So this is one additional thing you need to keep in mind, because technically, as I said, here I just configure a direct disk device as a DHCP server, but typically you might not be having the same case here. Like here, these all switches are L2 switches, which are configured with access ports, and the links connecting between the switches has to be trunk, because whenever this particular client sends out a request, it should be able to reach the SVI, and that is only possible when the links are connecting between the switches in the same VLAN, or it should be trunks. So as we are using multiple VLANs, these all links should be trunk. Okay, remember that one point. As of now, here we are not adding that, but when you are implementing the labs, you can just try to simulate this one as well. You can just add one L2 switch and one L3 switch, and you can add the trunk link and do the verification. So without trunk, it's not going to work, because for the VLAN users to be able to reach out the gateway to send out a DHCP request, trunk link is a prerequisite, the switching part generally. So there are majority of the things we need to know, the prerequisites like switching, routing, whatever is required. We have to understand that part as well. So in our case, specifically in this lab, what we did, we tried to configure this as a DHCP server and the clients. And of course, if you have any intermediate switch, then make sure that the link connecting between switch to switch is going to be a trunk link.